Hey guys, as you've probably seen on the internet, Final Fantasy VII Remake is getting a new PlayStation 5 upgrade and expansion called Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade, which will include new additions to the game, including a hidden boss fight and a DLC episode featuring Yuffie. With that being said, I just wanted to go over some details that are confirmed and just let you guys know from interviews and information on the PSN what you can all expect from Intergrade. The Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade will be a PlayStation 5 exclusive and will feature two different editions available on the PlayStation Network. The first is the Standard Edition, which includes Final Fantasy VII Remake with all its new graphical upgrades and features, the new episode featuring Yuffie and her new weapon, the Cackstar item. The Digital Deluxe Edition over here on the side will be Final Fantasy VII Remake. New episode featuring Yuffie will include a digital art book, digital mini soundtrack, and her new weapon, the Cackstar item, for $89.99. The Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade won't just be an enhancement of graphics for the PlayStation 5. In fact, there are also some new features. Due to the graphics and the gameplay, there's actually two modes you can play the game. The first is Graphics Mode, which will prioritize 4K high-resolution graphics, or Performance Mode, which prioritizes smooth action at 60 frames per second. You can also use a Photo Mode to take pictures in-game and apply a filter to the photos that you take. You can also enjoy immense battles with the DualSense wireless controller, so they will use haptic feedback for gameplay aspects with the controller. There will be a new difficulty setting for Classic Mode, which you will be able to play in normal now, and you can also jump into the action faster with optimized loading times, so if you die during the fight or if you're trying to fast travel, this will be much faster than the PlayStation 4 version. The next thing I'd like to talk about is the Yuffie episode, and through the interview with Nomura with Famitsu, they go over some details about the First Soldier, Ever Crisis, and Intergrade, and we'll focus on the Intergrade aspects. Now, I want to point out that all this information I got was translated by a popular Twitter user in the Final Fantasy community named Audrey. If you have a Twitter, I strongly recommend you follow her because she is constantly updating her channel and her page with news about Final Fantasy and very interesting info. When Nomura was asked about the new character Sonon, he replied, "In Final Fantasy VII Remake, we briefly touched upon the topic that Barrett's Avalanche and the other Avalanche are two separate groups. Yuffie actually came to Midgar for materia, but she gets involved on a mission with the other Avalanche group. Basically, Cloud, Barrett, and company are doing their own thing with their Avalanche group, while Yuffie and the others are doing theirs separately. That's the basic gist of the story." So this makes sense that there are other branches of Avalanche in Midgar, because Biggs talks about this in that one chapter when you storm the Shinra warehouse, saying that, oh, there are holier-than-thou brothers, and Barrett's group and them were labeled too extreme, so they kind of cut them off from communication and their plan. He then divulges gameplay aspects about Sonon and Yuffie by saying, "The battle system will be slightly different than Final Fantasy VII Remake, and you will not be able to control Sonon. The player will control Yuffie in battle instead. In the tactical mode, you will be able to give commands to Sonon though. As for new gameplay elements, Yuffie and Sonon will be able to battle together. I hope you enjoy this slightly different battle system compared to Final Fantasy VII Remake. So you won't be able to directly control Sonon, but you will be able to issue him ATB commands, and as we've seen in the trailer, there are team-up attacks, so there is kind of a new gameplay system added to this DLC, kind of in the same aspect of Final Fantasy XV, where the character episodes deviated a little bit from the main game and had their own mechanics. The next thing I'd like to talk about is the boss fights in Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade. Now, Nomura talks about how he wanted to add Vice into Final Fantasy VII Remake in the PS4 version as a secret boss, but they weren't able to do it due to time constraints or something like that. So Vice will be a secret boss in that game, and I think you will fight him with Cloud in the party rather than Yuffie. Yuffie might be fighting Genesis. As said in this interview question, or this interview answer, I should say, he says, "The new boss in the Yuffie DLC story is different than Vice. As for who else will appear aside from Vice, well, please wait for more info to find out." Now, he's being very cryptic about this, but as I've seen on Twitter, people have slowed down the trailer, and you can actually see a hologram version of Genesis relative to the hologram when Cloud and company were confronted by Heidegger and Shinra at the Sector 5 reactor. Now, upon further thought, this could just be Vice. They did redesign Vice's outfit because he was shirtless and dirge. Nomura decided to give him a top layer to cover his body and give him some more style. So this might not actually be Genesis. It could just be Vice loading into the bonus boss battle that will be in Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade. So there you have it, guys. There's some great new fascinating details about Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade. I'm very much looking forward to this game in June, so I'm hoping to hear from you guys in the YouTube channel and on stream, and we'll talk about this probably endlessly until it comes out. Thanks a lot for watching, and peace out.